In our several years of experience working with regulators, businesses, investors, and also communities, what we discovered was there has to be a very structured approach to mainstream sustainability in our businesses, for example. And that structured approach, as we started working on, came up with a concept of 7 C's. You will ask me, what are those 7 C's about? And I will put down the first C as C1 and calling that as compliance. Every business has to be compliant. And when we say compliance, it's not just to the regulations. It's a compliance to the market. It's a compliance to the investor. So it is a 360 degrees compliance I'm talking about. But then there is another important second C. I'll call that as C2, which is competitiveness. Every business today has to be competitive. So how can we be going beyond compliance? And we look at resource efficiency as an example and figure out how do we make better product design. How can we use more sustainable packaging? All that to me is C2 or second C. Now, given that we are making commitments to decarbonize, and we are all heading towards commitments also at the national level, going net zero by 2070, and also the looming threat of climate change, which is making our assets vulnerable, we got to have a third C, which is on climate. And these three, C1, C2, C3, indeed intersect. And that's the power of looking at all the 3 C's at one time. But let's go even beyond the factory gates. And what is important then is to look at C4, which is circularity. Circularity today has been understood to be the way as a very, very important vehicle towards sustainability and also resilience. And it also brings in far more greater impact to the economy. And everybody talks about the future is circular economy. So C4 is our next C. But then we got to also look at supply chains, the communities or neighborhoods we work together, and take a responsible approach to the community at large so that they benefit and get supported from the business. And that's to me an important C, which is C5 I will call as a corporate social responsibility. Very, very crucial that the businesses looks at their commitments to the community and does good so that they are not impacted negatively from their economic activities. But then let's go one more step beyond, and that is reporting. I would call that as a communication, as the 6th C. And this communication can be for different audiences. It could be to the regulator, it could be to the investors. It has to therefore bring in the element of being transparent. And that's the important part of doing any ethical business. So that's why this is 6th C or 6th C here. But then to deliver all these C's I talked about, you need to do a capacity building. And this capacity building, mind you, is not only of your employees, but it's also of the supply chains with whom you work. So it's a much broader definition of capacity building. And that's the 7th C. And you'll ask me, while everything looks very interesting, very exciting, how do you deliver 7C in an organization? So the first step one would do is scoping. So we look at the business of the organization, including its ecosystem, to find which C's out of the 7 are crucial or critical. Because some companies have already progressed well, maybe on C3. The next thing we would do is what we call wireframing. So each of these C's, when I am delivering, I will be going through different steps. And perhaps a step number 5 in delivering C2 is very, very proximal, in fact, overlapping to step number 5, let's say, in C5. So this is what we call as a wireframing, which optimizes the effort, but not just optimizes, but the outcomes are synergetic. And that's the big power of the 7C approach. So it's something which is a discovery of this company over last several years. This is something in which we are passionate about, and whenever I have spoken about this approach to my colleagues and to the businesses, they always would come back to me saying, let's go and do it. And I think that's the kind of an important discovery which I would say EMC has today, that we would look at our clients in the 7C approach. And I think more and more we do it, we feel that we are going closer to our mission of practicing sustainability to the advantage of all.